Good afternoon. Today is the 15th of March and we're just coming out of Baron's Classic Car Auctions at Marchwood near Southampton. We're doing a little shambolic shuffling around. It's been enjoyable. It's always nice to come here every month, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about something rather more prosaic, and that is the fact that due to certain decisions by manufacturers over the last few months, is it really the end of Supermini in this country? The reason I mention this is because in the last few months, Ford have said they're going to stop producing the Fiesta. I believe that's happening in June. Kia have said they're going to stop either importing the Rio or making it entirely. And Nissan have just said they're going to stop making the Micra. Now, the Rio's not a huge seller, particularly in our market. They're very, very good cars. I sourced one for a client around 2 years ago, and there's a review of it actually on the channel. I'll put that in the description below. I'll also put a review of the 2020 Fiesta Active that I drove last summer, in case you want to see what the current generation Fiesta is like. Fortunately, with the Micra, I've only driven a K10 and K11 Micra, so I don't know particularly what they're like really in terms of the modern ones, but the Micra name has been around for a really long time. I think it's 40 years. Obviously, it was called some other things in different parts of the world, such as in Japan, where it's been known as the March most of the time. But they don't really sell many Micras in this country in particular. We're very into our Qashqais and Dukes, but we're not really into the Micras anymore. It's sort of a shame because I've never been a massive fan of the Nissan Duke. The current generation model is an awful lot better than the first generation one. The first generation one really wasn't great. I have driven one of those on the channel, but I can't talk about it, which is just as well because I don't want to. But the Qashqai is a huge seller. It's been a huge seller since it came out about 2006. Look at the top 10 bestsellers list from last month, from February 2023. You'll see both the Duke and the Qashqai in there. What you won't see is the Micra, whereas the Micra was definitely a very big seller back in the old sort of K11 days, which was from I think 93 to 2002 the K11 was made, and I enjoy driving the one that I had on the channel back in December 2021. The Rio is a really good car. The thing I think that Kia are trying to get people to buy instead of the Stonic, which I don't really see an awful lot of advantage to the Stonic as opposed to the Rio, particularly. They're very, very similar, and indeed the Stonic has been dropped for the Korean domestic market. It's only made for other markets like ours at the moment. There's not a massive range of engines, to be honest, for that either. There's I think mainly the 1 litre and perhaps the 1.25 engine. Correct me if I'm wrong, there might be other engines available for the Stonic, but certainly for the Rio, that's what is mainly powering them these days. The Rio is actually a really good car. It's one of the best cars in its class, as far as I'm concerned. And the current generation model's been on sale since about 2016. The one I drove and sourced for my client was a 1 litre with the turbocharged engine and about 99 horsepower, the 3 trim, which is nice and luxurious. Just possibly think with the styling, which I'd say is nicely conservative, maybe isn't to everyone's taste, I don't know. But we don't sell many of those over here. They sell tons and tons of Sportages, tons of the things. The Sportages generally a mainstay of the top 10, and that's such a theme of everything. With the Fiesta, we've covered this before on the channel about the fate of the Fiesta. We did a video about that last year, and the Fiesta does still sometimes appear in the top 10. I think last month it did. So why on earth is this going on? I mean, the Corsa, which is the the best-selling car in the country for 2022, and is, you know, showing to be a model that's still in very much demand. I wouldn't be surprised if it sells the best this month as well. That's showing no signs of going out of favour with buyers at all. But there are a couple of reasons, and James Martin from the JM Cars channel recently did a video about Ford and how he thought they might have lost their way, and I kind of understand why he might think that. I totally understand that. You know, why get rid of a car that was a top seller in this country for at least 15 years, I think it was, if not 10, if not a lot more, and has been in production for our market since 1977. So a 45-year plus production run. Rio's been produced for our market for over 20 years, and the Micra is about 40 years. Why on earth would manufacturers want to actually get rid of these cars when at the moment people are trending maybe towards smaller capacity engine cars that aren't electrified? They say that's what people want. Well, according to the sales figures, apart from the Fiesta and the Corsa, it doesn't seem to be what most people want. The Polo doesn't seem to be appearing too much in the top 10 these days. The T-Roc is. It's just the Corsa, because Vauxhall were very clever when they launched the current generation Corsa. They had one ready to go. I think you can still buy a variant of that in South America. But when they merged with PSA back in 2017, they scrapped that Corsa and they started again with a car that is based on the EMP2 platform, which is the same one as the Peugeot 208 and Citroën C3 and loads and loads of other cars, tons of them. And the main advantage of it for, you know, the situation we find ourselves in, with a ban on purely internal combustion cars being sold coming in 2030, is that was ready for electrification. The Corsa E, the electric one, I think it's called the Corsa Electric now, because it's very confusing, because the previous generation Corsa was known as the E and this one's the F, so it's Corsa E, Corsa F, which was very confusing. That one is selling quite well, I think. It's not the best range. The range isn't amazing. It's not the fastest, but it's a little relatively affordable electric car. When we're sort of being advised that electric cars are the sort of way forward, and the Fiesta doesn't offer that, the Micra doesn't offer that, the Rio doesn't offer that. None of them do. In fact, in Ford's lineup, they've only got the Mach-E in terms of a pure electric car. Whether or not you like electric cars is, you know, topic for another time, but that's what people seem to be moving towards, and the figures of those are quite high in terms of the sales. Kia already have tons of electric cars already for sale, so they're quite well positioned. They've got the EV6, and they've you know, had the Nero in production for quite some time now, so they're well positioned to kind of cope with modern things. Ford's is a Nissan have the Leaf since about 2010 or something that came out, maybe 2011, and they've got all sorts of other electric cars as well. The Aria is one like it off the top of my head, and so I presume they want to focus production on cars that actually do make a profit for the company. The Micra presumably doesn't. The Micra is on the same platform as the Duke, of course. The Duke is a big seller in this country. Something you don't want an electrified car, and I understand why you wouldn't. I also understand why you did. I've had plenty of both on the channel. But yes, you know, this Micra is easy to understand because they just don't sell very many of them anymore. The Fiesta is a bit more puzzling because, well, they especially sold lots of them, but if you think about it, Puma is on the same platform as the Fiesta, and on the PCP deal, which is how the majority of cars have been sold in this country for some time now, residual values are the thing that count. That's why they used to sell tons and tons of Mercedes A-classes. They don't so much anymore, but that's the car people wanted. They wanted the VW Golf-sized car with very good residual values. obviously for Mercedes dealers that was very good news, because they kept getting loads of these in at the end, which hadn't lost a lot of money, and that meant that it was more affordable for the average person buying an A-Class. So Puma's the same. They presumably share quite similar production costs. I don't think they're built in the same factory as the Fiesta from memory, but they are built on the same platform. A friend of mine who actually owned that Fiesta Active I mentioned earlier has just got herself a new Puma, and she's pretty happy with it. Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like to see a review of that Puma, brand new 2023 model. With the Rio and Stonic, it's the same sort of idea, I think. For our market, I think they're both built over in South Korea, and the Sonic's probably got a high profit margin on it. But neither are particularly big sellers. The Sportage is a far bigger seller over here than the Stonic. And we've got Nissan with the Duke. So it's pretty easy. And the Fiesta generally, that platform can't last forever. I think they're looking to Volkswagen for new electric platforms, such as the one used in the ID3, ID4, ID5. I think there's going to be maybe an ID1 2 coming soon on a sort of smaller version of that platform. And obviously the Fiesta and Micra replacements will probably replace them with full electric cars. Whether these the historical brand names or not, I'm not sure, but they will cost a lot more money. What's sort of interesting is that the Fiesta is not particularly affordable anyway. The basic model I think costs £18,000, which is a lot more than something like a Dacia Sandero, an MG3, even a Kia Rio is about £14,000 before they can take it off sale. So is this Supermini, as we know it, actually something that's going to disappear? Well, I don't know. MG have said that the replacement for the 10-year-old MG3, which is still buy brand new today, of course, and was made for other markets even before that, will have both electric and combustion variant. I don't know how true that is. It's what I understand. So MG obviously think that there's still a market for them. Hyundai, Kia's sister company, they're still making the i20, and presumably they're going to continue to make that. So some people are not discontinuing theirs necessarily now. Suzuki is still selling Swift and the little Ignis, one of the few city cars actually left on the market. And Vauxhall have got their unassailable position at the top of the sales chart with the Corsa. So are they going to disappear? I don't think so. I think you'll still be able to buy a combustion engine Supermini for some time to come. But in terms of brands pulling out and concentrating on other endeavours, higher profit margins and electrifying their cars, exactly the same reasons that James Martin states for the disappearance of Ford as like a big volume brand in this country, which has been the case for a really long time. I can understand why they're doing it, but it is sad. I think it is sad that these things that are just parts of our culture, really. So many people had a Supermini for their first car. I had a Polo, a 1998 Polo. It was my first car, along with my Twin Sister. And I imagine loads of you had things like Micras, Fiestas, Novas, Corsas. So to see this segment disappearing, I can understand the business case for it happening, but it still makes me a bit sad. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below, and see you again soon for more probably quite irrelevant news. Lloyd Young Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below.